for me, Ireland are a fantastic team to watch. I love the outside backs. I love what they do, but when it comes to World Cups, they fall away. This is their time to shine, is to win a Six Nations, etc. They'll be big competitors against England, because they'll say, okay, it's not home, but it's close to home. There's going to be a couple of games across the UK Isles, as we've heard in the Rugby World Cup. Will that benefit them or England? Maybe. And then coming into semi-final time, there'll be one much closer to home. Is this our chance to really make a bid for it? Because England will be feeling exactly the same. So I think those two going away, definitely.
Wales, I mean, arguably, they regressed, but I think there were reasons for that. The thing that I think Wales has still got to come to terms with is a structural thing, because the Alan Wynne-Jones factor, I know he was injured and so on, but there's still, to me, is a doubt over whether he can last the pace. Whether he wants to last the pace, whether he'll be absolutely the top of his game as we know it. Because, when I look back at my career, you couldn't have said anything to me on fitness scores. I'd say my fitness scores were as good as they've always been. But when I look back, towards the end, towards the end, I just wasn't. I look back and think you weren't as sharp as you were several years before. You weren't quite as hungry. And you don't know that at the time. And
you don't know that at the time. You're so right. You don't know that at the time. I think Alan Wynne has been such an incredible performer for Wales, but sort of ambassador of the game in general, that we all sort of got this little halo around him that almost nothing can go wrong. And I was listening the other day to a Welsh fan who said to me he was sick of they were delighted with the Australia result, but he said we're sick of being the perennial valiant losers.
Yes.
And I think there's that feeling. But what happens with Wales, when you get a superstar into the Welsh team, from the outsider's point of view, remember I'm just talking from the outsider, it's almost like they can do no wrong. So not playing week in and week out, not playing week in and week out, not playing week in and week out, starting for Wales, and then starting for Wales, and then not playing, and then not. The regions are the guys who are putting the money into these superstar players, and sort of developing them. The national team is one thing, but you also need to see them week in and week out. And when you get to that age, you can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So people go down and watch the Ospreys versus Cardiff, or a big clash or whatever it is, Clonetty against you, and they want to see those players as well, week in and week out. And just with this overload of rugby and then getting old, you end up fighting a losing battle, because you're going down a slippery slope on the other side. I still think he's got enough in him. I still think he was really, really good as a big, strong contributor in the Lions tour. He did well in the Wales games that he played. You've summed it up. Sometimes you don't see yourself.
Yeah.
What other people can see plainly.
I also wonder with Wayne Pivac, with everyone fit, whether he now, because at one point I could name the starting 15 with relative certainty, bar one or two. I don't think I can do that anymore. The back row mix is up for grabs. I think the second row mix is up for grabs. The halfback one is certainly.
Well, you're so right, and I think sometimes. And maybe this is part of the context we're talking about. Sometimes it's also the coach's fault. I'll never forget hearing the comment that I think it was Heineke Meyer who said at the time, I would pick Fourie de Preer even if he was on crutches, and he probably wasn't far off lying. You know what I mean? And that's the sad part, is that you've got a number 2 scrum half, working really hard to be the number 1 when he can. Who wasn't at that stage a bad player at all in Ruan Pienaar, who ended up playing.
Pienaar was well good.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And he just knew he was never going to start if Fourie de Preer could stand up out of bed in the morning, and that damages. I think that damages a little bit of the relationship between players. And if Pivac's standing back saying, if Alan Wynne's in the country, he's in a red jersey every weekend, what does it do to everybody else? And I'm not making this about Alan Wynne. That's the context. Yes. This is about any player who's just picked regardless. I think it damages the fabric of a team.
The Scots were in the position that they've always been in for me. There are lots of hope, not quite nailing it. Successive performances go well, and then there's a setback. And unfortunately for Scotland fans, I can't see that being much different. There's a lot of promise and so on, but only one game away from just it's the hope that kills you, I think.
No, exactly. And I love the Scots. I've got a great affinity with them. I think they're fantastic supporters. I think they've got a very good base now for an active tight five. I think in Hamish Watson, I think he's a good loose forward. I don't think he's a great loose forward yet, and I would say that to him because I feel he would also say, okay, well, I haven't gone out there and smashed the All Blacks on my own, which we've seen from the best loose forwards out there. If the Scots were a bowler, they'd be military medium. They might nick one or two off every time they bowl, but not win the game for the team. And unfortunately, I think that's going to be.
Let's not mention cricket at the moment.
No, not today. You're right. I woke up early this morning to watch. Yeah, some not so military medium bowlers hit Joe Root in the unforgivables.